Back to the Mishnah. All right. Case of nifredu olav is kosher. What's nifredu olav mean?
Yeah, spread out.
What? They're spread out. Okay, but so you have to. But okay, better than that. What do you mean they're spread out?
Rashi.
Okay, Rashi. Nifredu olav. Oh, you're reading today.
Okay.
How pleasant. Nifredu olav.
Nifredu olav.
The shidra.
Yeah, the shidra.
Okay, so that's the most important point that Rashi makes, that the leaves are fully attached to the spine.
Yeah.
Fully attached to the spine. There's no defect in the physical attachment.
Right.
Okay, but... Okay, but the problem is that on the top, meaning at the point of the highest attachment of the leaves to the shidra, at that point and above, they're spread out. So it looks like that. In my horrible description over there,
right.
Top right, that's what it looks like. Okay? So of course the question you have to ask is
Why
what?
is it good or why is it not good?
Right, what's the hamina would be that this would be puzzle. Right? Kamash Malan, that it's kosher. Now remember, we don't mean this is why it's a conceptual question. Practically, this can never be puzzle. Practically, why? You would never need this case. Why? Why?
This is always the case.
Because let's take the Riff's case.
Right, and that was kosher then.
No, that's puzzle then.
This is kosher?
If this were puzzle, would you need the Riff's case? Of Nifritzu?
No.
But that was kosher.
No, Nifritzu's puzzle.
So that was puzzle, so you do need this case.
I agree, but I'm saying, but let's say you had this case being puzzle.
Right.
Right. So that's why it's not a practical hamina. It's a conceptual hamina.
Is this person gives a shear of a sort or not?
What do you mean?
Like a certain amount of nifritzu or
This is a good
nifritzu?
spot.
Well, I don't know. You tell me.
You could say probably. I don't know.
No, you just said the top.
Well, you have to define what the problem here is. Okay. Why would you think?
From the base of the
But it's not separated because it's still attached.
the potential separation.
Well, what's the problem? What's the problem with it?
It looks like it's separate.
I mean, this is a segue from the idea of the shidra. I mean, I'm just letting you know there is a connection to that concept, but you have to. So what is it? What makes more sense to say? It's puzzle or kosher?
Kosher.
It's kosher.
No.
Why? Defend that. It's puzzle.
Because it's not whatever connected to the shidra.
But it is connected to the shidra.
It's not though.
Why isn't it?
What is considered connected to
But it's still connected. It's physically connected. Exactly. The top is never connected. If you look at a lulav,
It doesn't have shame connected.
it's. Okay, let's take a step back. What do you mean doesn't look complete? What does that mean?
Doesn't look like a perfect
When it's not like this, looks it's perfect, it's nice. You know, when it's open, it's already like, oh, it's starting to.
No, because okay. So think about it. Just think about it this way. In other words, like this. In other words, the Hamid is going to say it's puzzle. It's a psul and hider. Why? Because when I see that lulav, what am I actually seeing? I'm seeing two things. I'm seeing a shidra and I'm seeing the leaves. So I'm not relating to it as one uniform entity. I'm looking at it as a spine with leaves that are branching off. I see leaves.
Not with air.
I see leaves. Right. I see leaves and the spine. Right. That's not what you're supposed to look.
It's shit connected.
Right.
Thank you very much.
That's what you mean. What you were saying before. That doesn't look like a natural lulav. In other words, what you're saying is that I'm relating. Again, it's not a din in the chefsa. Because the chefsa is where you start peeling off the shidra. It's then its appearance. When I look at it, what do I see? So the Hamin is saying that, what do you see? You would think it's a psul because I'm seeing leaves and a shidra. But like Avi was saying before, Kamashlan, that no, as long as it's physically attached, right? Because again, what's the essence of the lulav? The shidra. So even though I may see leaves that are separate, since they're physically attached, there's no psul that emerges.
That clearly cannot be.
80% of the lulav form is retained.
The
question that came up is, why does Rashi need the case of nifridu? So I think the answer is like this. I think the answer is that once you have the case of nifritzu is telling you that, and again, it's puzzle. Why? Because the shidra is not functioning as a shidra, right? But in that case, from a hidur standpoint, pure hidur, is there a problem? In pure hidur, no, because it looks like a straight lulav, right?
When you tie it.
Yeah, when you tie it together, it still appears like a lulav. It appears like, but in this case of nifridu, the problem is it doesn't appear like one lulav. It appears like a dual entity thing.
It's like the exact reverse of Rashi's.
Exactly. So that's where Rashi would need the case. You understand? That's where Rashi would need the case. Maskana is that again, is it an ideal? I'm not sure. And Allah Lamaisa, which we'll get to probably later on in the week or next week, is going to say that there's a certain point where it's too wide. But right now, all we have to say about Maskana is very simple. right? As long as the leaves are attached to shidra, right? They are still defined as one entity, even though the way it appears to you might be like two.
It's got the classification of the
Right, exactly. It's and all the properties of the lulav are there. Can't say it's lacking in the property, even in hiddur.
Why don't you say yes? It looked like it's one entity.
Because I'll put it a different way. Think about the tension we were dealing with before. This is a beautiful way to put it, I think. On the one end of the spectrum, before we were showing how hiddur isn't completely detached from the chefsa. There has to be reality. Hiddur must be related to the chefsa, right? This is the other end of the spectrum, which is that the other way of applying it, which is that the hiddur here, the hiddur is you can't say something is lacking in hiddur if everything about the chefsa that's supposed to be there is working appropriately. You understand? That's the way to put it. That's the other side of the tension. You understand?
Right.
Okay? Okay. Now you're Rabbi Yehuda. All right, what does Rabbi Yehuda hold in the Mishnah? What does he? Just read the Mishnah. What does he say? Yogdenim Amala. Right? Rashi.
Rashi, im nifedu olam yagidem, shehi olen meshidra, kishar olam.
Okay, so, by the way, you were asking before, when do you look at Rishonim? Okay? Well, this is a good time to look at a Rishon, other than Rashi. Why? How do you learn Rabbi Yehuda? What is Rashi saying?
Is he arguing or?
Okay, but right. Okay, let's assume he's arguing. What point is he arguing on?
If it's kosher.
No, better. What's he arguing? What's Rabbi Yehuda saying?
Is kosher.
No, what's Rabbi Yehuda saying? What's he saying? Forget if he's arguing. What's he saying?
You need this facet to be kosher.
You need this facet?
No, it's just better.
Is it better?
Yes, you don't know. It's not.
Or you don't know, right? Okay, what does Rashi sound like he's saying?
Sounds adding a requirement to it.
No, what?
It's I think just like lechachila.
Well, I mean,
It doesn't sound mandatory.
it doesn't sound
Mandatory.
mandatory?
I would say
It
no.
sounds mandatory.
Okay, so what's one way you could learn this?
It's a den you need to
Hiddur.
Uh,
have.
It is a hiddur.
No, you guys should make up your mind. Go one direction, okay?
No, it's not.
You're saying different than what he's saying.
Yeah.
All right, so you're saying, no, what do you mean by an option? That's actually a third way to learn.
One way of looking at it.
One way of looking at it is saying it's an optional thing.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not purely optional.
Right, I would disagree to even consider that.
Because why would they even mention that?
Right, so what's another way you can learn?
Pretty low necessary.
No, you're still with that. No, let's get away from that. What's another way you can learn?
What do you mean?
What's the situation here?
He's disagreeing right now.
What's the situation? No, I'm saying the situation in the lulav. What's the status of the leaves?
Oh, are they even separate at all?
Okay, now we're talking. In other words, how do you learn the case? Is he saying that if the leaves are separate, they're required to be tied together?
Tied together so they don't.
Or is he saying that they always have to be tied together so they don't separate? Think logics, okay? Logically speaking, there's two possibilities.
The Mishnah seems to be saying the first one.
Right, but how do I know, now this is already how, you also know how it's sense to go to the Gemara. How do I know these are the two logical possibilities?
Look through Shana.
No, because what's the Gemara going to take up later on? Remember in the drush, keep what I'm saying in mind. In the drush, these two logical possibilities are going to be an issue. But for now, what's Rabbi Yehuda hold? Does he hold that, is Rabbi Yehuda saying that it's only when the leaves on top are separated that I must tie them together? Or is he saying every lulav must have a tie on top? Okay?
Then he wouldn't really be arguing with the first.
Which was only one line, but this is where I would go. So if you look at the Parish Mishnayos, where it says Parak Shlishi, Lulav Gazol Yavesh, skip about halfway down, right after the parentheses where it says Vidas,
It does.
read it.
Does Yehuda ki kul lo sarch sheyegdu sheyegdu
Also,
also kadei she's kapsu
Olav, Kibbutz Chazak. So what does he hold? That's it. That's all you have to read. What's he saying?
separate or not needs to be tied.
You're chayiv to. In other words, the Yehuda's position is you must tie the leaves of the lulav together.
So it's
Okay.
unrelated then.
But wait. At the same time, he for sure argues on the first side because the first side would never hold dues because he must
Nifrdu's
hold
okay.
that it can't split.
But he argues with Nifrdu. No, he's worse than Nifrdu. No. What the Rambam's telling you is that he's not just Nifrdu. He's not just arguing on Nifrdu. He's going further than that.
Then don't even get into a situation like
Yeah, he's saying that every the leaves on the top of the lulav, are they connected or separate? On the top. They're separate. Right, but you don't see them as being separate. But he says, I don't care. Kibbutz chazak. They have to be tied together. So the question is,
Then in lulav reels, it's just a precautionary.
well, you mean it's a ba'akev? Good question. We'll get to how, we don't pass in this way. Good question though, if it's ba'akev or not. But we don't know. But right now,
That's not what Rashi says.
No.
though.
okay, so I want to learn like the Rambam. Okay, Rashi. Some of the Rishonim want to learn Rashi like the Rambam. So I want
Wow,
to.
it says Kishar.
I know, but it could be he's saying it's universal. Yes.
Wait, contrary Yehuda, if it to be inside and then it became
The way the Rambam's learning is that the top of the lulav must be tied. If you look at most lulavim today, right? If you look around, most people have an eged on the top part of the lulav. I don't know, they're not doing it because of Rabbi Yehuda, but they do, right? Yeah. I mean, look at those the brown deco, right? The little brown deco that everybody uses, a piece of lulav, a dried lulav. So they tie they tie it around the top. Okay. So now the question you have to ask yourself is that, well, why does Rabbi Yehuda require that? And there's a little trick here, okay? Because this isn't nifradu. Nifradu is where the leaves are distinct.
I just saw the last time.
Yeah. Let's just make this point clear. It's a good point. Logically speaking, according to the Rambam, does Rabbi Yehuda ever have a case of nifradu?
No.
No. Why not?
I don't know. I just knew you.
No. Why not? Why not?
Because you have to tie it originally.
Right. So it wouldn't matter how spread apart the leaves are. The point is everything has to be tied. So there's no shear of spread out. It's simply what? Not tied. That's the problem.
Straight if you want to tie.
Exactly.
Really.
So what is he holding? The point that's being made, you understand why it's such a critical point? The point that's being made is like this. He's saying that, well, how is it possible that if you take Rabbi Yehuda at his word, based on the Rambam's way of learning, so you tell me that every lulav, when I pluck the lulav off the palm tree, it's a puzzle lulav? How's that possible? Right? So what does he say? So therefore he must do what? He must say that kapos tamarim, that kapos must mean tied.
Meaning the lulav is only just lulav, but that's all.
Right, exactly. The Torah must tell you it must be tied. You understand? Without that, how could he hold that way? In other words, again, in Gemara methodology, Rabbi Yehuda needs the support of the Torah, so to speak, or some other external support to justify his position. Otherwise, he's saying that, what happened? We have a lulav on a tree, and then what? Rabbanan come along and tell you it has to be tied? Where do they get that from? How could that be? It's very similar to, if you guys remember, by Sphira. How could it be that the Rabbanan come along and tell you that Benish Mashos is better than Seis? That's absurd. So you're going to tell me that lulav is puzzle until the Rabbanan come along and say you have to add this eged? Well, that's absurd. So that's why he has to say it's Darjan in the Gemara. But you haven't answered the problem, though. What's the problem according to Rabbi Yehuda? Why must it be tied? No. I agree that what Rabbi Yehuda is bothered by, Rabbi Yehuda also wants us to look like one entity. Okay? Meaning going back to the Havmina of the Nifradu. He wants to look like one entity. Right, but if he was just a Havmina of the Nifradu, then it wouldn't be that the Rambam will make no sense, right? He can't be the Havmina of the Nifradu, because the Rambam is saying in every situation, even if it's not separated, if they're normally straight, right? So what must he hold? But he has to agree that the idea must be that it must appear as one entity, all right? But I would say like this, I mean, the example I was thinking of, I agree with the format of what you're saying is 100% correct. In other words, you want to be able to, it has to appear like one entity through and through, and therefore that's why it's reflected in the fact that it looks like, so to speak, one shidra. It's like a one upright entity of shidra.
But I think Avi said.
Just show why that the spread out, when it's actually spread out, is different than stam lulav that doesn't have an eged on top. All right. Now, if it's stam lulav that has no eged on top, let's say you look at a lulav that has no eged on it. Okay, and you just hold it. Okay, so what do you see?
Rove straight.
What else do you see?
A lot of leaves. A shidra.
And you see a shidra. Okay. Now you got to think about it. No, let me finish.
Can I say?
Both cases, you're not seeing a continuous entity, but there's a little subtle difference between the two.
No egg and no egg.
No. Okay. It went. Okay.
There's 3 stages.
Let's take a case.
Two cases.
Let's take the case of Nifradu. Okay. Just listen. Just listen. Let's take the case of Nifradu. So Nifradu, obviously the lulav doesn't grow like a Nifradu, right? The lulav grows straight. And what do? You take the top leaves and you bend them out. You haven't touched the shidra, but you bend out the top of the leaves. You bend them out so they look like a fan, right? That's the case of Nifradu, right? And we hold that's kosher. Okay. So in that case, so what we were positing before is that when you look at that, you don't see one entity of lulav. Rather, what do you see?
Straight and fan.
Right, straight and fan. Now, let's go a little deeper. But what does that mean, straight and fan? What you're really seeing is that you're seeing leaves, you're seeing a shidra, you're seeing leaves, and you're seeing shidra. You're seeing leaves and you're seeing a shidra. But what you're seeing is leaves coming off the shidra. So because they're coming off the shidra, how do you relate to it?
One.
No, because they're coming off the shidra, how would you relate to it? Havamina, that's two different things. Kamashlan's not. But you would relate to it in such a way. In other words, that was the Havamina. But that's not what Rabbi Yehuda is saying. Rabbi Yehuda is going further than that. He's saying it's not that you will look at the leaves as coming off the shidra, right? Because that's how a spread out one looks. If it's straight, what are you now seeing?
Just the lulav.
No, then you wouldn't require an eged.
So you are seeing the leaves and the shidra, but you're not seeing it spread out.
Okay. So therefore, so think of an analogy of how you're relating to the lulav. I have a perfect analogy in botany that would justify it. Let's take a flower.
You'll see it's leaves.
Let's take a flower. Let's take a flower. What's a flower? Well, how do you look at a flower?
leaves in the center.
Stem the corolla
Stem and the
and petals.
petals, okay? But not that stuff. I'm saying, you know, in general, if you give someone a flower, okay? So when they look at the flower, what are they going to see? Well, there's two ways you can look at a flower. Do you look at a flower as the stem plus the petals?
Yeah.
Or do you look at it as an entity?
No.
All right? So what Rabbi Yehuda is saying is that Rabbi Yehuda wants to prevent the potential of looking at it as two things, like what a flower would be. So he says that's why it must be tied on top. In other words, when you're saying it should look like a shidra all the way through, I think that's what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Right. What he's saying is that he's not saying that it's that you should look at that the problem is that leaves are coming off the shidra. Rather, you're looking at it as if it's this thing is comprised of two things. That is comprised of leaves and a shidra.
Is it a hitter problem or a chassid problem?
It's a hitter problem. I think it's a hitter problem. It can't be a chassid problem. It's a hitter problem. But you understand that there's a difference between the two. It's subtle, but there's a difference. The difference between saying that when I see it, is the difference between saying that I see something where I see it and then there's something that branches off of it, versus saying that in its very natural form I see two things. Right? Rabbi Yehuda's targeting. He's saying it's like a flower. Like when you see a flower, there's stem and petals. He doesn't want it to appear like stem and petals. He wants it to appear like what? One thing. You understand? So that's why it has to be tied together. In other words, in a sense, you eradicate any independent notion of leaves when it's tied together. No. We'll get to that though. Okay? That's Rabbi Yehuda's svara. You understand? It's different than Nifrado. I can't stress that enough. Alright? Yeah. To put it. In other words, another way to put it is like this. There's two ways you can look at it as two components of an entity. One way is you could say is that there's the main thing and then something's branching off of it. So now because it branches off, that's why I relate to it as two. Or do you say in its natural form it appears as two? So Rabbi Yehuda says, I can't even allow for it in its natural form to appear as two things. As two things, so that's a din and hitter though, right? It doesn't appear like one, so he holds it has to be tied together. Okay? Okay. So now let's do the Gemara.
The other one, the other side.
So the Gemara Lama Beis Amud Aleph expands a bit on Rabbi Yehuda, I think. Okay? So take it away. The middle Lama Beis Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Omer. So what does the Brisa say? All right, take the Brisa. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. All right, so I want to write this up on the board, okay? So kapos tomorrow. Okay, kapos tomorrow. Now, hold on. Torah says kapos tomorrow. Okay? Kapos meaning what?
The branches have to be tied.
Kapos meaning...
The branches.
Read it.
Kapos and kapos, they have to be tied.
No, it's kapos tomorrow. Kapos, right? Ima yuparad yechtefenu. Meaning, what does kapos mean? Kapos means, right? Kapos means what?
Time.
Right? Tie. So, that seems to be a nice proof of what? That you require neged.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, whereas we know kapos means something else, how do we know kapos means something else? What would you say normally kapos tomorrow means?
Oh,
The kaf of the Tamar.
No, don't be so philological. What?
bunch of dates.
No, it means what? Lulav, right? In other words, we know kapos tomorrow equals lulav.
Right.
That we know. So you have to say, going into this, no one's questioning, in reality, no one's really questioning whether you can learn something else other than lulav. Okay? But you'll see what the Gemara is trying to prove by this point. So the Gemara is now trying to add to whatever kapos is and say, oh, kapos actually means something more than just...
The definition of lulav is...
Right, it means tied. So the yeah.
Really, Ravina Rabashi, my dehai kapos man deluvahu. I don't
Okay.
know this kapos is actually the lulav.
Right.
In Maharuta, you'd say it's the older, more dried out version of the pomegranate.
So okay, so why is he saying that? One second, where's that? Charusa, right?
Frusa.
Charusa. Okay, what is Charusa? Now, if it's Charusa, why would that help? Why does Charusa help?
What do you mean?
Why does Charusa help? Why? Maybe it means, he says, how do you know kapos means lulav? Now, what's the Gemara really trying to do here? Let's get to this Makias.
Who says... Trying to figure a different solution for lulav.
But not really. It's trying to
How
say...
do you know that?
Right, it's trying to disprove this notion. You understand?
But it's also going to disprove what we think lulav is.
I know, but we know it's going to be lulav. It's just saying that, why are you so... Yeah, I'm trying to bring out a certain point here, okay? This isn't saying, the Gemara never has a havmina that maybe kapos marim doesn't mean lulav. It knows it's going to be lulav. That's obvious, right? It's just saying that by you suggesting that kapos means tied, which seems to be adding an additional concept, how we learn this out. Well, why do you say that has to be the case? Maybe you can learn out from this term something else. Okay? So the first example is charusa. What is charusa?
Right out. Older.
A dried out, well, okay, look at Rashi.
Yeah.
Rashi.
Charusa anapodeko mishnah.
Mishin niskashe.
Right.
From the time it gets what?
Hardens.
Okay, good.
2 years of Shalosh, 3 Vyotzin Bo Luvin, Harbe, and many lives come out, Nishulen Niskashu,
Gamheim.
right?
Right? Vinasu.
Vanasu eats the
Porna lekan. V'zeh porna lekan. Gan fe sharilanos. So what happens to, turns out what happens to a palm tree? So it turns out a palm tree, right, ends up over time looking like
Palm tree.
this, okay? But what feature exists in here that the Gemara is focusing on? What's the most important word in that whole thing?
Bark.
What?
branch.
Hard, right? So therefore, what do you see in this?
A bar. Center.
It'll be one empty.
Right, well, okay, maybe it's charusa. Why? Because what does it have right now? It has, it's spread out, but can it be tied together?
No.
No. This lacks the means of being tied together, right?
Why?
What would happen if we tried to tie, let's say you went outside right now and tried to tie the branches of that tree together. What would happen?
Nothing.
They'd break. Okay? So this can't be tied together. Okay? No egg. Okay? That's possibility number one.
Is that
What's the next
branch or is
possible?
that the tree?
These are lulavim that come off the bark.
So why don't you just peel one of them off?
No, he's saying this is the lulav.
Oh, okay.
Meaning this is the, when I say lulav, there's lulav in the botanical sense, which is a palm frond, and then one thing is the halachic lulav. Maybe the horse charusa is the halachic lulav. Okay? The Gemara says that can't be. Why not?
They'll break.
What?
They'll break.
No, read the Gemara. Va'ina kapos.
Being kapos, the later,
What does that mean?
needed to be tied, and this can't be tied.
Rashi. Va'ina kapos.
Kapos im haya parud yachav
If it were separated, what would you be able to do?
tied.
Tie it together. Is this separated?
Yeah.
Can you tie it together?
Yeah.
No. So keep going to Rashi.
V'har is that parud and also
Yachol l'chofso. So it's impossible. This is separate, and it's impossible to tie it together. So that's why we know this can't be the halachic lulav, right?
you enough of hafrudim kan v'kan nechatzim v'smakim ito avian.
Shehem mechubarim bo. The fisher kashan hain. So they're attached over here, right? But there's no way to bring them together. Simple logic, right? Nothing. Okay. So the Gemara says that's why it can't be charusa, because kapos means what? What does kapos mean at this point?
You should be on the side.
Okay, good. So what's the second possibility? Right there.
Ve'ema, hold on. Yeah, okay, ve'ema ufta.
Ufta.
He's saying it's the actual
What's the ufta?
trunk.
Okay, the trunk. Okay. So now what? Now look at Rashi. What makes the case different?
Ve'ema ufta me'ikar deko shehu chelak ve'en anav yotzei min.
Lakan. So what does it look like?
The actual, I guess, trunk itself.
Right. Okay. So the Gemara now cleverly escapes this problem because what does it have here?
Just a trunk.
There's a trunk. So what are you not worried about?
Time.
Time.
Okay. So what is the Gemara going to say?
The kapos, the klo, and the ika, paravai kapos, okay.
No. So it says Vema ufta. So kapos miklal the ika parad. Right. So when it says kapos, it means that it is able to be separated.
Right.
The high kapos, the omid, the olam.
It's always,
But this is what?
always together, always
Always.
one.
Well, right. Always tied. Meaning what?
It's not separable.
Okay. Good. So
according to Rabbi Yehuda, that tree is perfect.
here, what's the problem here? Here is can't be tied. What's the problem here?
Can't,
Can't be
be separate.
separable.
What?
Can't be separate.
Well, it's one piece. So therefore, what?
Nothing too tight.
Nothing to tie. Okay. Okay. Now come on, you guys are smart.
Hell.
Before even going on, hold on. We're gonna answer in a second. But for now, the question you should ask at this point is, why do you need both charusa and ufta? What do you need both for? Okay, they're each one teaching you a different idea. You have to tell me what that idea is. Now, what about the third one? What's the third possibility?
Ve'ima
Kufra. Okay, now kufra is checkmate. Why is kufra? Now, what is kufra? According to Rashi,
younger.
Read Rashi. Hainu.
היינו נמי עץ גאין הרוסה, אלא עדיין בין שנה או שתי שנים.
Right. So what is it? It's like a 2 to 3 year old lulav. Okay. Velonis ava at 8 so, and its branch hasn't gotten thick. The ato yachol lechapos enough of shel al yidei egud. Right. Uzakvan lamala leogdan imavien. So you can accomplish. No. So this is the checkmate case because this kufra is a lulav in every way, shape, or form. It looks like a lulav. It has the right configuration. Everything about it smells and looks like lulav, right? Clear. How do you know that has to be the case? Because what's the Gemara's answer? Why you can't use it?
Oh, just for some.
Some reasons.
Okay. Possible because of darkei noam. Okay. What's the problem with using this type of lulav?
The person holding it.
Right. There's thorns on it, like Rashi says. He says darkei noam ve'elu asuyin kekotzim, right? V'yosef behen oksin harbe. Okay, so it has thorns coming out of it, and what's going to happen is that if you if you pick it up, you're going to cut your hands. Okay, let's just stop for 1 second. Rabbi Yehuda's ambition is what? Rabbi Yehuda's trying to accomplish something here. He holds that the lulav must be tied. Okay, but as Avi pointed out before, and I agreed with him, you can't tell me that he's going to say that the Rabbanan are coming along and telling you that it's better than the Torah's version, right? The Torah tells you kapos tamarim. So what's he forced to do? What must he do to make this work out? And he does a wonderful job too. What is he trying to do?
Torah's version
So
is
you
tied.
can't be anything else.
What?
So there cannot be
It can't be anything else. So how's he going to prove it can't be anything else?
Torah's version is tied.
What?
cross elimination.
Well, no. Does the lulav come tied?
No.
Okay, so we know we're going to tie it.
So he said that's not lulav. That's
But
kapos torah.
how's he going to know what a lulav is then?
The only thing that you can tie.
Okay, so therefore, what's he searching for? What's his ambition?
He's searching for the one type of thing that could be tied.
Okay, so therefore, he's going to find, you'll appreciate this, okay? He's searching for the idea of kapos in the very min of the lulav. In other words, what he's trying to do now, okay, is that he's saying kapos means it's tied. What he doesn't want to do is what Avi was asking. He can't say that there's a defect in the lulav and I'm repairing that defect. That's absurd. That doesn't make any sense. But if it's not a defect, what must it be then? It must be, if the Torah is telling you kapos tamarim, it's telling you that a way to identify a lulav as a lulav is what? It's necessity to be tied. It appears that Yehuda's ambition is to show that, to say that when I see kapos tamarim, normally when the Torah tells you, like anaf, eitz avos, arvi nachal, all those things, is giving you the markers for how to locate this specific species. Okay? He's going to have to say that kapos also is a method of locating the species. But watch step by step how he does it. So what's the first move in the Gemara? Okay, before I do that, is that clear? You understand that point?
Yeah.
Okay? If you have that general approach, then the Gemara works out beautifully. Forget darkei noam for a second. Okay? The first two steps work out beautifully. Why? What's the first move in the Gemara? What's the verse in the Gemara telling you? What's it telling you?
It's telling what the characteristic it has to have.
Okay, so the first thing is saying that this is the okay. The first thing it's telling you is that a characteristic of a lulav is what?
Side.
Its ability to be tied. Okay, so that's easy, right? The first step he's saying is that when I'm searching for a lulav, how do I know what a lulav is? I look around and I see a palm frond that has the ability to be tied. Meaning, in the very a property of the species is the ability to be tied. Right? Okay. What's the next step? Now, but then Gemara says, what about ufta? What about ufta?
And he's using the premise that we're
So we asked before, what's that coming to tell you now? What would you have thought? This is the key move. You know this already. This is your question.
Oh, this might be perfect.
Yeah, in other words, why does the Gemara reject ufta?
Because you must be lulav is something which wasn't originally tied and can be tied.
Right, no, but what would you have thought by ufta? You would have thought, why is this the perfect case?
Because it
And therefore, how would you view this then? How would you view tying?
imperfect as like a default act.
Yes! As what?
As like a fault act by default, but not you don't really want to do that. It's just in order to get a perfect lulav, you have to tie it. But
Right, exactly. So if you just had this, what you could think is that it's true. When you say that the property of the lulav, a simon of the lulav is that it needs to be tied. Well, now the Gemara is taking one step further. It's saying, well, when you say it has to be tied, right? What do you mean by that? Are we saying that it has to be tied because you're correcting something in it, right? Or are we saying that
The
it's
act of
actual
tying
property,
is- right.
right? So Ufta's ruling out.
Or what?
or it's part of the property of the thing is that it's made to be tied. In other words, if you're telling me that it's simply correcting something in the lulav, well, that's accomplished by ufta, because ufta has nothing to tie. So you're accomplishing the same objective. What would be the difference between having a lulav that has leaves that you tie versus this? Nothing. If you held that tying is remedying something, but if tying's not remedying anything,
I'm having a tough time with the remedy thing because
we're not from kapos. What do you call it?
But it's still the only way to figure out what lulav is.
No, but
How else do you figure out what lulav is? According to the Tanakh, why isn't
that's a separate question. That's a good question. That's not our problem. That's a question on that sheet.
the Gemara.
No, I'm not so bothered by that. Because
okay,
no.
is that a monthly question?
No, I'll tell you what. No, I'll tell you why I'm not worried about that. Okay, because that's why I told you from before. The Torah says kapos tomorrow, and we know that means lulav. Okay, whatever kapos tomorrow. How
He's proving how that the only way to know that means lulav is because it's time.
no.
Yeah, of course.
If you didn't know, because you didn't that's if you learn it that way, you're gonna have a big problem. The way I'm learning it makes a lot more sense. He introduces kapos to say that it must be tied,
Right.
but he can't learn as an external because so he has to show how it's part of it.
Right.
But why would the other side have to do that?
Because now the other side has no way of identifying lulav.
Right.
He has no idea
If
what
it's
lulav is.
internal,
Well, we don't know. We'd have to go through that way of learning. In other words, we have to go to that side and see how they learn from kapos tomorrow.
I'm saying maybe.
But that's not our problem.
If it's not tying, it might be nufta.
Fine, and that's their problem.
Right,
I'm not saying Tanakh has a problem.
That it needs to be tied. It just proves that the way of identifying it.
Correct. In other words, I'm trying to show you that since Rabbi Yehuda is introducing a new factor.
Doesn't even have a great position because nothing in this suggests that you have to tie it. Just that it has to be able to be tied.
Correct.
So then his.
Come on, what was I saying? The upshot, by the way, the upshot works out that it converges perfectly because they both agree of the same lulav. It's just the question is ability to be tied part of the definition of the min or not? In other words, the Tanakh would say, yeah, it happens to be that part of this, these species tend not to have to be tied, but he's not saying that's part of its very definition as a species.
Say it's just an identifying mark.
Yeah, it's an accident, but he's saying this is part of its very definition as a species.
I don't know where you got.